Hi, Ben here. I keep forgetting who said it. Might have been Ayoade. But it goes something like, film is not real because of the way it is perceived. The cuts, fade in, fade out, close-ups, and the sudden wide shots, nobody sees it that way. While this might have been a criticism, I maintain that it is for that reason that film is altogether a success and borderless if you're not too sour about subtitles. Think about it. The reason why we are so afraid of catastrophic events is because of the likelihood that it might happen to us, or to someone close to us. It's an existent threat with an approaching possibility. The more distant the event, the lesser the worry, the less involved you feel. When much closer, you are at a higher risk to fall to it as well. Now you might be thinking, no, you've got it backwards. We watch films to put ourselves in the undesirable space you've defined. And I'm not saying we don't. I'm saying we put ourselves in the spaces to experience high tensions without any lasting consequences. It's a thin line, that we have a terrific difference between what you could feel from a film, no matter how viscerally experienced, and what a real-life scenario could do to you. Now this begs the question, why watch films anyway? What about the packaged experiences of cinema make them so desirable or worth it? I think, and I say this blatantly, we are all perverse to some degree. And we have been instructed and have acclimated to reason away from these sometimes humble perversions, though they can be vile as well. Certain ideas discussed in films driven by the unconventional plots feed us in healthy amounts to remain civil while stretching some sick desire. Film is essentially the emulation of life. And to be able to resonate to a piece of film, no matter what the cast may look like, from talking dogs to sea creatures, you have to recognize the humanity in them. That is the struggle and how they respond to it. It's a pretty neat balance, and also the basic reason from which you can extract personal reasons for why you might like one film and not the other. Being the emulation of life, you will understand that film is a desirable experience because it allows you to access many lives, many points of view. And as much as we all live in our bubbles for the most part, we are aware that the world around us is dancing and brewing a magic you won't be able to fully take part in. The word is onism, the awareness of how little of the world you will experience in your lifetime, as you are limited to one body that can only be at one place at one time. And film? Well, with film, we get a helping hand in that film supports thoughts on possible careers, failed romances, and even buried traumas you hold. And it does all this by allowing us to vicariously live through the voices on our screens. Although we often follow a lead in a film, it puts us in the position to recognize others as individuals with dissimilar interests and dislikes to our own. The word is sonder, the realization that each random passerby is the main character of their own story, living a life just as vivid and complex as your own. Another thing that makes film desirable, much like old photographs, is that film can serve as a core to nostalgia, that vague recognition of an appreciated time past. Oftentimes, our feelings are packaged in the ideas we enjoyed and cherished as our younger selves. There are many reasons for why we enjoy it. Ultimately, we watch films to be entertained. And why we are entertained is much deeper. From the cozy sensations of indie productions to the destructive booming power of blockbuster actions, we want a good time in the end. I've noticed there's something rather odd about the world, and I may be a victim. That is the apotheosis of men and women that have access to many lives. We admire the artist to a crippling degree, so much so that sometimes we would regard their touch as inches away from divine. How ridiculous is that? Don't get me wrong. By all means, love the actor. Praise that which is praiseworthy, but do not distort the lines so far as to be unable to separate what is unhealthy fanaticism to humble admiration. And this isn't something you can just put the lead on, as the reasons for individual reactions are vast, but manifest as a shared delusion. I had a talk with a few of my friends on the matter, and I really liked how Melissa put it. She said, "We feel attached to these names and faces because we convince ourselves that we somehow know them through the many hours of observing their curated lives, right? The crux of that take is that we start to associate our emotions to these pieces of art so strongly that they manifest as either admiration or hatred to the actors carrying whatever part of the story we resonated with the most. This plays out in many different ways and affects both parties, the actor and the viewer, in varying levels of severity. A channeled hatred towards an innocent, excellent filmmaker could cause a premature retirement or build mountains of depression for the lad who was only doing his job. We sometimes fail to separate the idea being discussed from the people presenting it. Now, I don't know the half of depression, so I couldn't tell you for sure why certain creatives are prone to it, but I suspect it's often personal trauma, pious dedication, and unhealthy co-workers that make a dangerous cocktail. Aside from the glorification of the individual creators, another common and often insidious trap is the addiction to the medium of film itself. Look, you have to live your life. You have to make your own experiences. That is how you develop your world to appreciate what you consider good and to recognize it. Sometimes we get addicted to the safety of the medium. That is, we can't hurt anyone and we can't get hurt. So we sit and our lives become dependent on the emulation of the real deal. It's often a difficult subject, the matter of addiction. It's a coping mechanism, one that allows us to accept some temporary measure of ease in the hopes that everything else just falls in place. And yeah, we do get levels of gratification from film as well. And that is a dangerous replacement for real-world acclaim. It's probably funny to the majority to hear this. You might think how silly it is to be addicted to films. But like most addictions, it is a form of pleasure-seeking, something you're chasing. So think deeper and see if you can reach a sound conclusion. And maybe you'll see that. Maybe you see what I'm getting at. You see I'm right. Yeah, those are my thoughts on film in general. And I'd like to close with the idea of taste. Right off the bat, film is an art form. It is subjective. But, right, they are objective parameters to observe it through that help outline its position in the world. What am I talking about? The sounding, the lighting, the editing, the direction in it, and so much more. They are protocols to put your ideas out in the best possible way, and you ought not to ignore them. However, that is more of a problem from the past. The modern world is so sophisticated that most films will invariably stand on a sound foundation. How often do you see a film with bad video? It's outrageously noticeable because it's unusual. This puts most films in a common realm where it comes down to taste. Here's the truth of it. My taste is not better than yours, just as yours is not better than mine. Think about it this way. Our life experiences aren't uniquely ours, but we are still unique. Our perception of the world is shaped by whatever past experiences we faced and how we responded to them. Different things are entertaining and different things are terrifying depending on how you've lived your life till this moment. There is an idea of a higher pleasure, but that's a topic for some other day. Right now, I want you to be proud of what you like, no matter what the rankings may say. And don't let people bully you, regardless of how much better they can express their taste when compared to you. Just because you made a bad argument around something doesn't mean you're wrong. Believe in the importance you place in it and don't be shaken so easily. Here's a text from Melissa that sums up taste and is going to close up everything, right? She says, from a scientific point of view, measuring and comparing things is exciting and it can be useful. But when it comes down to art, it is subjective. It's really a matter of taste because people tend to like what they can relate to or understand. So if you don't like the Nolan films, don't feel bad. You're good. You're right. I promise you. Right. That's all, folks. I'll catch you later in the first episode. This is not episode 1. This is just an introduction. Nice to meet you. Tell me your favorite films. I'll be talking about mine throughout the coming year. yeah, I'm excited about it. This is great. So let's get brewing. Let's get something. Let's get let's make something happen. Peace. I'll see you guys in episode 1 of the podcast that's called Band Talks as QMD. All right. Peace.